Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. On today, we're going to deep dive into your sensory perception, understanding the layers and moments that you may not have been aware of, leading up to your realization of consciousness and what it takes to develop those skills so that you keep expanding and developing your awareness of all things and all the layers of how representative they are within Taoist internal alchemy practices, how they're representative in the very journey that you take as a human being. All these things come in a nice big bow, and we give you moments, epiphanies, to realize that you have been doing this your whole time, your whole life. And that's one of the biggest, incredible light bulb moments for anybody. And don't forget to stay to the end of the video, where we, of course, do an exercise immersing you, emerging you into the very essence of the energy, frequency, vibration that creates the energy, the vibration, the frequency, and the resonance that you hold that expresses all things right here, right now. Enjoy the video. Silence, sound, resonance. Realized. Now. Welcome to the Consciousness of the Way. My divine, delectable co-host, High Priestess Jade.
Good morning.
And I'm your humble servant and Sifu Taoist Master San Qing. And we are back at it, ladies and gentlemen and ladies. And why not fast forward into topics and subjects that are most relevant in today's epic conscious collective raising of the bar. We have such incredible beings that are coming onto our podcast, exploring all things consciousness. And today is no exception for us as we start to refine what it is that you are doing. Where are you going? What is the purpose and the structure to remember? Remembering is kind of basically the catalyst for your own conscious realization. And we all have it in our own forms. And what happens, or what tends to be realized, is you're going in one direction, and out of nowhere, you literally switch streams, switch paths, so obscurely bizarre from where you were originally at that it can't be anything other than a conscious realization. What the? Where, what's an example of this? If you noticed, apart from the general scam or the intuitive instinct to represent this, at some point in a person's journey, they find God. I'm reborn. Hallelujah. I found the path to Jesus. Whatever it is, whether it's a celebrity, a personality, someone you know, has this epiphany. Now, the measure of the actual value of that and what that really means will be representative on the action, which is the feeling, not the words, the ideas, the concepts, which is where so many people get stuck, is this sort of like intellectual sort of vomit. We always remind you, if you come from physiology, biology, psychology, neurology, quantum biology, or all of the above, if you're a physics guy, and this is your only scope, your only lens, you are limited. You are limited. No matter how you look at it, no matter how you slice the apple, peel the onion, it starts with this intuitive knowing from the truth teller That's where you get all your juice. This is where you gravitate to some things, you are repelled by others. The simplicity of it is clear. And the knowing comes with the feeling. It's as simple as that.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's why that's how we decipher and give you the opportunity to figure out what resonates with you is through that feeling, through that emotion, how it just envelops your whole body. There is no denying that, whether you read it in a book or didn't read it in a book, that is something that is so tangible, even though many call it intangible, that it just hits you like a ton of bricks.
And, we start replaying and rewinding, right? Within Taoism, we have our, a simplistic method. Well, it's second to none, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But our internal alchemy is second to none. With the confession of many people across the board, you can talk to all people, all walks of life. I've experienced it. I've trained with people, training them in this very ancient processes. Very few places in the world you can find this stuff. Even today, the stuff that is being disseminated is inaccurate, fragmented at best. And this comes from the consensus of most people within this space that would be recognized as experts. Mm-hmm. They understand it. And when you come across this secret source, the stuff that is shared with the people in the stratosphere of the way, Taoist Master Sun Qing will reveal all as it should be. The deeper nature of this stuff is the comeuppance of where we're at. And, relevance to a dear friend of the channel, Alexis from Ascension Diaries, who is a very modest and humble and beautiful being, yet she really explores the deeper nature of Schumann resonance, which is basically the auric field and resonance of information that's coming from the earth. Mm-hmm. And so there are people around the world that are measuring these transmissions as if you were to observe your physical body, you are measuring it. We teach you how to measure the torrid field, the torus field. Yes, it wasn't a slip or a Freudian slip. Yes, I think I have an oral fixation, Sigmund Freud. Yeah, that was very dysfunctional and fragmented also. It seems to be this need that people have to gravitate to these idealists, deconstructing and integrating the intellect with the intuition, the merging of the two, the need to regress back to, as if Obi-Wan Kenobi was Carl Jung. I'm a little confused, yet people tend to gravitate to this guy's ideas of how to merge the intellect with the intuitive, which I don't see at face value that at all with any of his teachings or information that has been revealed from the past. Being a jilted Jedi trainee of Sigmund Freud's, this is what takes place. Yet, hey, look, we went through several years of emulating and idolizing people within the geographical, political landscape that have been perceived as godlike, yet it's a manipulation of information. So am I confused or concerned by the fact that that moment you had with your grandpa, it's like, I can give you this information, young Johnny, which will save you a lifetime of suffering and pain and discontent. Nah, Grandpa, I want to learn it the hard way. When I light this match and I burn my nose hairs, it makes me realize that fire is dangerous. Okay. You see, you have these epiphanies every moment of your life. You're having these moments where your consciousness is begging for you to listen. And if you once you hit a peak where it becomes realized, and there's a processes for that, especially within Taoism, as we open up the gateways to this knowing, an ultimate transformation of that is channeling at the highest level of consciousness. And that's a progression. As you open up the energy centers, it becomes more clear. But no, you didn't. You have those moments where people are like, man, I remember back when that person told me this, and wow. And this is also part of a reflection of exactly where you're at in your own spectrum of consciousness. If you have to look at it and have regret, there's still moments or a part of the energetics within your physical tissue that can be revealed, because these are very human-like traits, humanistic expressions that trap within the physical tissue, which gives you a very clear understanding that you are staying in what people in the New Age spiritual terminology would be the 3D density, really. Okay, sure. You're staying in the 3D. So when you experience these things and you have to look back and go, my goodness, if I only listened to Grandpa, instead of, as a dear friend of the channel, Tom Campbell would say, is the glass half empty or full, you would go, oh my goodness, that was one of those incredible moments when my guides, my consciousness was going, hey, it's time to level up, brethren, sisterin, all in. You understand, right? So you look back at the timeline of your natural born life at the point where you realize consciousness is more than the sum of your physical body and your life experiences. And you go, holy moly, I was being given these messages for this whole time.
Now when hearing you talk about all this stuff, it's just making me think how these generations have like changed recently to a point where you kind of ask yourself, like, do people even read books today? Are books even like valuable? You know what I mean? Because we're kind of coming into such a digital age where, it used to be, okay, you go to school and here's your semester, or, hey, I want to escape my daily life today. I'm going to go dive into a book. And it's like, that's such a foreign concept today. Even raising, young kids, it's kind of like, books are so interesting, whereas it was so embedded with, you growing up, me growing up. How do you think that changes just the way we process information, the way we receive our information, the way we're doing it, since everything is so visual? It's
Right.
so everything's a movie now. Everything's a video. Everything is you learn from a video, you learn from the visual versus maybe, reading it and imagining it. Is that more of a hindrance for us? Is it more of a capability of, I can expand my consciousness more because I have so much visual ideas that I'm not limited by my own imagination? Share your thoughts.
Well, this is the thing, the crossroads for most people is understanding how do you perceive your reality. So if you start with a baseline, you come into the game, you step into the octagon, you step into the ring with Mike Tyson, you're going to find out you're not the same heavy hitter as Tyson, not yet. Especially the baseline of the very perception of your humanness. What does this mean? It means that you start off with a nervous system, this physical, flesh and blood, 50 trillion cells that are dormant until otherwise notified. Until you get that memo, they're dormant. Until you get that memo, your senses are limited by 5. People talk about a 6. Listen, I can tell you right now, you can think something in your mind, say it, hear it in your mind, speak it in your mind. There's 3 more senses right there. Booyah! Level up, welcome. You're welcome. You're up to 8 already. What are the chances of that? Now, understanding this on a deeper level is your sensory perception is your filter to this reality. Conceptually, most people say you're only really privy to 1% of the actual spectrum of reality, and this is why we are, bound to this 3D density, right? The truth is we use techniques to level up your sensory perception, your clairsenses, where you perceive everything, all dimensions at once. That's the whole point of the Nidan, the internal alchemy, the Nigong, the internal power that you are cultivating through these Taoist practices that are second to none, that you will have a perception of reality that, a friend of the channel, Nick, was just recently on, and he was having a confession about his journeys to his own mastery of energetics, i.e. Qigong, and through that, he had a myriad of experiences that would be considered what we call a psychotic episode. Listen, I've been doing this 30 years. People have come to me 30 years ago with this very notion, but intuitively not understanding the real value of what it is they're experiencing, and they wanted to find more intuitively. They knew that they were not having a psychotic episode. They knew that there was something greater. To the confession of another friend of the channel, Brent Spirit talked about how he had a Kundalini experience, and when he came to his physician or his doctor or his psychologist, they gave him a prescription for sedative drugs that would calm and dampen his perception of reality. He was very, very disheartened by the realization someone would give him a script saying, "You're just a little batty. You're just a little crazy. You're just a little distorted," as my dear friend Martin would say. The dukkha, the Buddhist monk's perspective, is the observer. We are all, as you start to master this, your humanness, your emotional state is nothing more than that, and you can take it on and off like underwear. Like I said, Jade and I, outside of the world of helping people wake up, come up as remembrance, reunited, and it feels so good. This is what we do. And with that comes the internal alchemy, because you need to be able to grade the variables of the subtleties of the energies. And this is what comes with the internal alchemy practices, training in the Taoist rites, training in body dowsing, which is part of the Taoist rites. And you're able to assess your whole environment, internal, external, and with that level up, creating the highest point of ascension so that you can stay in this state 24/7, 365. Because that's the reality. The dukkha, the distortion, is your emotional content. When you're emotional, you are suggestible. This is part of the human experience. The humanness is going to present this to you. The gathering from a very conceptual level is you identify with that. You realize that you have a timeline of your natural born life that creates these spikes where energy, frequency, vibration are basically generated from a thought, feeling, and an emotion. And so when you have ascertained and created this cluster of energy that comes from a light, wave, particle, matter, you understand what I'm talking about. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? This generates within the field what you perceive as your reality. You're now generating with your attention, intention, something that is formed within this 3D reality, this 3D reality density, something palpable, something that is slower in its expression of what is being transmitted into the field. We are moving at beyond light speed. This is part of the quantum model of understanding. I use this as a reference point. Taoists have known about this for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years. Let's just use that to help you level up. And so when you create that cluster, once it's identified, it is an energy. This is an energy. Jade is an energy. I am an energy. The camera is an energy. This is all an energy. Now what you need to do is realize that energy has a vibration. That vibration has a frequency. That frequency has a resonance, and that resonance is what you need to sink your teeth into to make it realize that you're reality. And so when I give people the stepping stones of understanding this, the sensory perception is a baseline. So you come from the construct of what you perceive as the reflection in the mirror as being your reality, when in truth, from the Jade Emperor, one of our teachers, all thoughts of your mind are not yours. That means that what about my identity? Well, your identity is all things. The truth is you are all and nothing at the same time. Booyah! The center point between the breath in and the breath out is the Wu-Ji, the stillness. This is where we access the mother of all things, the Tao.
Mm-hmm. I do. I think that is such a amazing, powerful concept until realized.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's one of those things that people have a hard time wrapping their head around because they're so programmed with identity. It's me. It's my ego. It's who I am. I'm an individual.
You can't fool me. I'm an individual. You can't fool me.
Yeah, it's like no, I'm so and so. I'm, my profession, my academia, my, accolades, all of these things. That's who I am. But really, it's like when you can get past that. And I think I find it funny when they kind of like, you'll see, world gurus and stuff, and they'll ask them about it, and the guru will kind of just look at them and laugh, because it's like when you're not in that perspective or perception, and that doesn't even embody you, you're kind of like, what a silly question. You know what I mean? I mean, really, because when you're egoless, talking to someone about the ego or someone like that, they kind of just go like, really? You're still stuck there? Like, haven't we moved on? Haven't we got past that? Because it really...
you know what you know, you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
And this is part of the paradigm that you are contending with.
Right.
As you expand what we define as consciousness, awareness.
100%. Yeah. And I think it's really amazing for me, just personally on this journey, discovering that there was a spirit world, access to the spirit world, kind of everything that you could imagine fantasy is reality, was that turning point of being like, okay, I'm home. Like, everything else seemed weird. This, doesn't seem weird. This seems more real than anything else you can think of. And I think people do. They have those moments where it's like, God talked to me. I found Jesus. I found my spirituality. I had a near-death experience. I had an OBE. I had a plant medicine experience that opened me up. I really think people resonate with those stories and those events, and especially within themselves, because that feels so real, is so real. I shouldn't say feels so real. It is so real that it almost like snaps you back to like, this is who you are. This is what we're doing.
Right. And, there's different ways to frame that.
Absolutely.
Well, I will say this, the esoteric realm, the studying of, ancient indigenous practices get lost because they become, part of a bleed out of an academic perception of reality,
yes,
which tends to be what's limited. Within Taoism, it's very clear. And I want people to understand this, and it all is, the proof is in the pudding. You can have as many people, and even across the social media sphere, digital internet, there is little to no information revealing ancient Taoist practices, and none that I'm aware of that actually bear any fruit. How do I know this? Because I'm a master at this stuff, and I can show you stuff that will bear fruit instantaneously, and that's the power of what we speak of. So it's all about, forget about someone conceptually structuring some theory of information of how to to evoke certain things within your energetic profile that would then reveal itself as a level of consciousness. It's mumbo jumbo until otherwise noted. So, always with that filter in mind, you come to a realization. Use and feel your intuition to regulate your barometer and your tuning fork to your reality. So, all the Taoist stuff is very much conceptualized. Some people are translating it from, historic sort of like texts that are very limited. Even the Yellow Empress canon is limited. Why? Because I have conversations with him all the time about the reveal of that. The construct of what is being shared and represented as the Yellow Empress canon is not. It never came from him. And so you have these misdirections and these manipulations, and so people translate and go, well, it says here from a historical level. Listen, understand this. Know this from Chinese culture. Hear me very carefully. There isn't a single thing that you can set your eyes on within the historical timeline of Chinese culture that is actually valid, because it's always a misdirection. Within Taoism, we have always had this 5 steps forward, 6 back, 2 to the side, 1 left, and then you go straight up. Because that type of need to understand is the very limitation that you will be presented. What does that mean, Jafu? Listen, right from the first verse. The way to walk is not the way. Mm-hmm. The name that's named is not the name. Tao is both nameless and named. Booyah! Know this to be true. So when you get your hands on some person who's highly intellectualized, left brain, I'm contorting it, this is what it says here, you're going to find that it has no validity whatsoever. And the proof will be in the pudding, because it will not be able to muster up an energetic realization. So when you see this and they're in their head, they're chanting the understanding, I have translated this and this is what it says, the name that can be named is not the name. Mm-hmm. And right from the Jade Emperor, one of our teachers, if you have to learn it, you don't know it. If you know it, you don't have to learn it. Booyah. And then someone would come to me and go, oh, but seafood, what are we going to, but you teach things, you teach methods, you teach. This is what we call the secret sauce. And you are the barometer. What does that mean? It sounds like you're talking out 2 sides of your mouth, seafood. Listen, I bring it. I will show you things that will alter your perception of reality in this lifetime and many after, because it's tangible and it comes back to the fundamental understanding that Jade and I reiterate over and over and over again. If you are thinking, you are not knowing. If you are knowing, you are feeling. So your perception, your truth is the only truth you need to be concerned with, and it will come in the somatic, visceral, kinesthetic response that comes from this tuning fork, which is your validator. How do you know this? When I say it, you get a charge. You want to be, a guru 101, instantly accessing energetics. And what we do is we master it so you can isolate that energetic subtlety right down to a subatomic particle. That is the mastery of what we speak of. Or you can expand it to a stadium, to a state, to a country, to the universe. You can access anything and everything at once. Booyah! That's multidimensional, baby. Mm-hmm. It's right here, right now. The present moment, the gift is your offering. Do I need to speak any more on it? Mic drop.
Yeah, I mean, we were having this conversation the other day, and somebody asked us, like, how come there isn't Taoist books available? And it was we were talking about this, And basically, I mean, Taoists, the whole essence of Taoists is when they would get their information, they would just channel it directly. They didn't need, there was no use for them. They didn't need books, because when you got to that level of being a Taoist master or a Taoist priest or any high form of it, you just channeled direct source information. And that's where they would get the understanding. That's where they would get the teachings. That's where they would kind of pass it down. So when you go to these temples, I mean, you go to these temples, they've been around thousands of years, and you'd think they'd have these libraries. Just they don't have a single library. They don't have a single thing. They're not even reading off of anything, because they're getting direct source. There's nothing
Well,
there's
I
nothing
would
more powerful. I mean,
I would say it's been lost over the thousands of years.
well, yeah, of
Now
course.
they're steeped into, as Jade would say, most of the monastic sort of like processes. You're coming from a very limited mindset, right? So someone years and thousands, tens of thousands of years channeled the information once, and then it got diluted, handed down from generation to generation. And this is the Pepsi challenge I give to anybody. I'll take the Pepsi challenge with anybody. This stuff is super source,
Right.
high voltage, realize hairs at the back of your neck, booyah moment,
Yeah.
and you will experience it. I ain't playing. It's about the now. And so, you know,
Yeah. Oh, hang on. So,
yeah,
like, just getting back to that, it's kind of the same thing. Like, I was watching this movie, and this woman was a pianist, and she was playing Beethoven. And the guy was listening to it going, no, 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 you're doing it all wrong. And she's like, what do you mean? Like, and she's playing the notes, and like, I'm playing this note and it says this note. And he's like, you're just playing Beethoven. If you want to sound like Beethoven, you need to channel his anger, his fear, his rage, his resentment, everything that chill you just got of channeling him when he wrote that. Just playing the music and doing the notes of it isn't the way he created that sound and that song. And you can hear the difference when someone is channeling it and playing the music on a piano, even though they have the music and they have it right in front of him. That's not, if you don't channel how he did it, how he wrote it, how he sounded, you can be, mechanically perfect all you want. It's never going to sound the
right.
same.
Oh,
I just
it's
thought that was
no,
such a good example.
no,
It was
no. I
like,
want to elaborate on that. It's
yeah,
about remembering.
yeah.
This is what we do. Reunited, and it feels so good. Now you will be in the path of what we teach, and this is the be all and end all of what we speak of. Jade is saying it. There's a knowing
Yeah.
within you, and you're either going to resonate or you're not. What does that mean? Seafood, what does that mean? It means that everything is energy. Energy has a vibration. The vibration has a frequency. The frequency, when you resonate at that frequency, it is yours. You will be mine. You will be mine. Oh, yeah. Who is the master? Shogun. Oh, look, we're regressing back to the 80s. I'm just getting into character. My goodness, The Last Dragon. Booyah. Bruce Leroy. One of my favorites. Oh, Vanity. Yeah, baby. Get down with it.
Yeah, she's coming in too.
7-Eleven, which is an interesting song. But look, yes, your Sifu is obsessed with the 80s. I'm sorry. I have a personality that likes to express itself through these sort of like cultivating practices. But I can express my personality and be and operating in all dimensions. That's the mastery. So getting back to what Jade said is absolutely correct. The resonance is the key. And so you can talk about it, that to be about it is another thing altogether.
Right.
Talk the talk, walk the walk.
And you can even try to replicate what someone else has done. But if you're not in that, like you said, that resonance, that feeling, that channeling,
Right.
it's never going to
Right.
be the same.
And so there's a processes. And we get back to the Taoist processes. We're second to none, baby. And it gets realized by the millions of people before you. You are falling into a method and a cultivation method that is second to none. Understand this, know this to be true. And when this is realized, you have profound effects. And it will come from your tuning fork, your barometer. You will feel it. It's not, oh, I have to think about it. And there are stepping stones. There are certain levels of degrees of perception as you're mastering these levels of consciousness. But at face value, you're always going to come back to the feeling. You walk into a room, I get a bad vibe. That person's angry over there. I don't like that feeling. I'm out of here. You've been using this terminology and language your whole life. It's just this moment of realization. And if it's not this path, it will be something else.
Right.
Understand there is a starting point. If you hear this conversation and it evokes your realization that something else resonates with you, amen to that, sisters and brothers, because that's what this whole podcast is about, is for you to remember. Now, the Taoist practices, and we had a friend of the channel, David Verdesi, we had this conversation about channeling. It's the highest access point for information. Taoism, the whole of Taoism was founded on channeling. And so you get these people that are book learned, that go to the annals of Chinese history or supposedly historical, reference points that are absolute rubbish. It's like, it's literally like you're being given the diluted facsimile of a third or fifth copy of a picture that's not even real. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you go and you put the old good old days, Xerox copy machines. You ever seen those before? Back in the 80s or 70s, I think. It might have been even in the 70s, where you could take something, a document, and you put it into the Xerox machine and make 100 copies of it. But you're getting 100 copies of 100 copies of 100 copies of 100 copies, which is evident in the proof is in the pudding. And so when people get into what we call, esoteric sort of deep diving into the metaphysics of Taoism, they get lost because they're all in their head. And so they're like, oh my goodness, I sat here and I read it and I did this and my magic didn't work. You got to feel it, brah.
Yeah.
You got to get into the juice, the rippling effects of the energetics that are multidimensional. And most of the problem, and I'm going to say it's problematic for Taoism, is through the thousands of years, because remember, this all comes back to the relationship, and you can quote me on this, of the Jade Emperor transferring this information to the Yellow Emperor residing within his intimate connection and affinity with the universe that gave him the very infrastructure of Chinese culture as you know it today. It all stemmed from the seeds of that and his own cultivation of alchemy. He channeled it, ladies and gentlemen and ladies, directly out of the mouth of Lao Tzu, who's my teacher that I work with on a second-by-second basis, and we just transcribed it. Yes, you've heard this before. The last part, oh, UFO, Sifu, you said that all this stuff is coming out. It's done. I'm going to get off this thing by midnight. It's going to be done. Look at Jen. She's like, what are you talking about? Got to set a little flame up there. And so you will be able to access it, right? The only resistance will be our team applying it to a digital format. So meaning that to acquire it, we got to send it to our guys. It'll probably be another 24 hours, to be honest with you, to get it on the website, all that kind of stuff. But listen, I get direct source. My teachers, I channel over 171 of them within our own temple. These are all eternal immortals. Realize you are eternal. Realize when you level up, it's getting access to information. And, the biggest issue is it's the way that you have been deceived within this lifetime that limits your access point. And many people get the dukkha, the deucer, the big old deuce. It kind of sounds very similar. The deuce, the dukkha, the pile of caca, however you want to put it. And they're not given the remembrance. They're not given the access to go, it's time to level up, bruh.
Yeah.
And so, we absolutely share it with the world. This is the thing. People travel from around the world to come and train with me because this is the secret source. And they get a whiff of it, and they're like, I'm there. Because this is the real deal. This is about the conscious collective. Understand this, know this to be true. Popping up, all of a sudden superhuman abilities. My obsession is physical healing, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, and, all of the above. As you would put it within, another model, we talk about the levels of consciousness from Shen Gong to Nidan to Nigong. These are all developments, and they're alchemical processes that transmute something beyond this 3D reality, that you can alter the very fabric of what you speak of, what you are breathing and expressing right here, right now, will be altered forever at a subatomic particle, coming in the form of instant manifestation, magic, healing. And that comes with the flow, baby. A wu wei, effortless action, effortless effort. When you listen to the talking head that tells you, I made $47 million this year, and if you listen to me, you pay me $100,000 a minute, I'm gonna make you the best representation of yourself, authentic in your expression. What is it? Authentic and unapologetic. That's a double negative, ladies and gentlemen. Take a moment, process that, because that's a real head screw. And again, you're basically validating your identity as I am a good person. That means there's something there if you have to tell yourself. Remember, we go from monologue to dialogue. When you are in a dialogue, and so when you're channeling, I don't get twisted. I don't have any thoughts of my mind. I am not like this genius that comes up with these epiphanies. This whole conversation today is not me having insight into all things. I'm observing what is taking place, and I'm able to accumulate the data and then deliver it to you. Do you understand? Do you see the difference? There's a big difference, my friends. And so when you are having a dialogue, you're dead in the water. You're having a dialogue. I am authentic and unapologetic. Is there a need for you to validate that you are who you are? Your knowing is this very moment. There is zero reason for you to express the need to identify your identity through the expression of who you are as somebody. Because when do you find your expression of absolute oneness? First person, third person, no person. It happens in this present moment. And that's it, baby. You want to level up, you want to heads up. That's how it happens. And this is the conflict that most people start with. And it's beautiful. It's a starting point. You take all this information, you go, seafood is blowing my mind with all this stuff. It's kind of like overwhelming. But then you're able to sit with it.
I'm having that moment.
Right? You sit with it, and then you realize, holy moly, it's so simple. Yeah. It's so easy. It's the glass half full.
It is. I was just gonna say that. I was just gonna say that. And I was just gonna say too, when you look at anything in nature, nature is emotionless, yet it resonates at such a high frequency of virtue that you can feel love from nature. You can feel gratitude from nature. You can feel selflessness from nature. Yet it doesn't have these humanistic traits that we have, that, a weed doesn't get jealous of the rose bush because it grew taller. The ocean doesn't get envious of, the clouds because they can float above it. There isn't, the sand isn't angry at the wind for blowing it everywhere. You know what I mean? So I know. He's looking at me like, oh, you just got this? Yes. But it is, when you look at everything like that, that is oneness. That is the true oneness with everything. And that's how nature acts, is the tree will give you gratitude and selflessness and love, yet it doesn't have any of these lower frequency emotions that we talk about, the dukkha, the distortion, the entitlement, the resentment, the anger, everything that we find ourselves kind of letting control us, which is why we really emphasize always, always, always on almost every podcast how to master your emotions. Because when you truly replicate, the beauty of this oneness within nature or earth or the universe or the galaxy, however you want to perceive it, it's like you feel whole.
Booyah! It's like that moment. Hercules,
Yeah.
Hercules, Hercules. You got to see the Nutty Professor. It's right there. Oh, yeah. And so understanding this, realizing this, knowing this, having a aha epiphany like Jade is right now, it's kind of like just a different angle. It's
Absolutely.
like a profound moment. And so this is the very default in the fabric of all things. You don't have to. When you are there, you are selfless. You are not having to construct some manipulated viewpoint of your reality to create an outcome, right? And so once you master the emotional content, you're able to really access this present moment. Now, side effects wise, what are the side effects? I don't know. It's good to be you. Instant manifestation, magic healing. You master the energetics and you want to resonate with $1 million, booyah, that will end up on your doorstep, ladies and gentlemen. So when I take on students, in a situation where it's very few, there's more of a vetting process that I go through. Everything is tailored to that individual's experience because they're all at a certain level, right? They obtain that awareness, and when they come into that, and if I'm training someone within a system, you will have a certain level. You will find a level of resistance, right? So that resistance will come in the form of repelling from whatever it is that truly is where you need to be. And that's why highest purity always reminds us, when you're at your lowest, you're at your highest. This is part of the misdirection. This is part of the Taoist model of understanding, because we have the polarizing effects of the duality, but within the center of the center of the center of the center, you have perfection, you have the stillness. How many licks does it take to get to the center of it? Oh, yeah. I don't know. Little Kim was just coming to me right now. You know what I'm saying? So when you want to get to the center of the center, this is the very essence of all things, the present moment. And that's the part of understanding when you merge as one, all is one, one is all.
Yeah, I'm still stuck there.
Right. And so it becomes realized. And the true nature and power of that is represented in everything. And so when we talk about effortless action, we ain't playing. And so when you get these motivators or these new age spiritual people that are like, you must act on things, you think it, you visualize it, you say, you're compartmentalizing and and removing yourself from the present moment. And it will come in all forms, but you will realize when you're in the center of it, because things will materialize instantaneously. Now, you can stumble upon it, and this is what most people do when they're on their journey. When they find us, they get a little taste, a little hit of the old spiritual crack pipe, and they get a taste, and it's what we call a glimpse. And that glimpse is transitory and temporary. And like anything, what most people tend to, and this is another misdirection, is you get these people that go, you got to be careful with the energetics. Your circuitry within your physical body is incapable of being able to handle large surges of energy, and you need to be very careful. Now, we microdose you within the 126 so that your energetics become regulated. But then all of a sudden your pipe might start like this, and by the time we're done with you, your pipe is this big, and it just continues to expand. And so remember, all is one, one is all. That means the physicality, your physical body is a representation. It is the universe, right down to a subatomic particle. We have gone there. We have spoken on it. We have talked about it. And it's just evidence based in another language we call quantum physics, science. They are reflecting on these things and showing it to us, what we have known within the Taoist community for hundreds of thousands of years. Mm-hmm. And that knowing doesn't come from someone validating it with me because they've measured it with zeros and ones. You just know this is what we revert back to when we talk about the intellect versus the intuitive based stuff, and the fact that most people stay in the intellect, which makes them very limited, instead of realizing and polarizing the fact that when you merge the two as one, conscious and unconscious processes, you become one with all things. Oh, yeah.
I love that. I love that, how you just put that, the intellect versus the intuitive. I mean, that's I think people can really wrap their mind around it, because it is kind of, I think naturally people go, do I listen to my head or my heart? My heart says one thing, my head says something else. And it's like they kind of find themselves in this back and forth of questioning of, which way do I follow? And really, when it comes down to it, we're embedded in it. Taoism is embedded in it. Everything we do is embedded in the intuitive side. It's so powerful, and helping you guys realize your intuitive side, listening to your intuition, hearing messages, knowing your intuition, feeling your intuition.
Well, it's the embodiment of all things.
Absolutely.
So it's the merging of conscious and unconscious, or within Taoism, it's conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. Oh, my goodness, my head's going to explode. But when you merge it as one, all is one.
One is all.
Booyah. And so when someone gives you a fear-based, be reserved, be aware that, the energetics, i.e. this New Age Kundalini awakening, can be detrimental and end with, psychotic episodes, use that as something to step away from, because that will make you contract. You will realize it's not correct, because true representation, knowing this, your physical flesh is a representative of the universe. The universe is abundant, timeless, endless, limitless, infinite. So the idea that you're limited to, and when people talk about storing and developing the dantians and developing the energetic, what they would call subtleties, there's nothing subtle about this stuff. When you get into the flow and the juice, it is dense. And the famous one-liner of most people whenever I work with them is, just when I thought it couldn't get any stronger, it got stronger. And my answer to you is, you're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the truth. Everything is abundant, timeless, endless, limitless, infinite. Now, when you get into the intricacies of magic, that's a whole nother ballgame. But that's part of an expression of your mastery as you start to get deeper. And so you can really tailor things. And so whenever I'm working with anyone individually, all the stuff that we are disseminating from a structural method processes, whether it's the infinite Wuji body, whether it's the Tao Te Ching, whether it's Taoist rites, these are all methods and systems that will level you up wherever you're at, and it will bear immediate fruit within this 3D reality. Now, you want to go deeper. Your intuition wants you to go deeper. You will go deeper. You will go looking. You will go reaching. You will go asking. And it will be provided.
Mm-hmm.
Reunited, and it feels so good.
And as we always do at the end of every podcast episode, is we enjoy sharing and showing you that and letting you feel it and experiencing it.
Right. And, just me putting my intention to this very moment, you are experiencing that. We have ways of making you talk. Oh, yeah, sorry. If you're a lost generation that was literally like mind controlled by like really bad, cheesy 70s retro TV like Hogan's Heroes or MASH, this is what it produces. So it's very hard to step away from that programming from a personality perspective. But once you understand how to go between, the answer is between the two. That center point, baby. Oh, yeah. How many licks does it take to get to the center of it? I mean, really, that's really the answer, right? So when you get down to the get down and you realize that center point is the answer, and people always talk about that, there is a method, and don't look no further. Hey there. Hey, girl. Over here. We got you. As one of my favorite Real Housewives would say, you do you and I'll do me, baby. Yeah. And when you focus on that, crazy stuff happens. And it's not something that is delayed. It will become representative instantaneously, as it should be, because that's how everything works, faster than light speed. So all of this starts to become very evident based, right? So with that said, I think we covered a lot in relation to understanding more deeper layers of where all this stuff comes from. What are the sensors? How do you perceive things? How do you develop those skills? What does it take for you to level up?
Mm-hmm.
And then the epiphany, the realization of that very moment. And with that, any thoughts, feelings, or emotions that you may have?
Yeah.
Ending.
I do think it's important, just getting back to talking about emotions and stuff, because the way we classify emotions and virtues are everything that is on a extremely high frequency: selflessness, gratitude, love, appreciation, oneness. Those are considered virtues. Emotions are the ones that distract you: anger, resentment, frustration, jealousy, envy. These very lower, the anything that draws from you. And so I think some people kind of misinterpret when, we say be emotionless, or be, put your emotions to the side. That doesn't, we're focusing on anything that distracts you in that essence, but your virtues, that you want to embody that all the time. And that is, like we always say, do you look at the glass half empty or half full? That's a very similar aspect to that. So just reiterating that if anyone, gets caught up in that.
What you talk about, Willis? Another one. I'm like, I'm got trauma. I need to release it.
Yeah.
I'm stuck in that.
You are stuck in the
reruns
80s.
of. I can't even remember what that show was. It was like.
Comment it below if you know.
Yeah, I can't remember, but you know what you talk about, Willis. It's like I'm at a loss for
You're a
that
lost
particular.
boy from the 80s.
Yeah, that's another one. Lost Boys. Oh yeah, my turn. Michael, drink it, Michael, drink it. Yeah, what a great movie. And like, it's so funny. Just in closing, I just watched the recent thing where they interviewed some of the guys some of them that are left that aren't like dust blowing in the wind. Strangely enough, they all made it through the 80s, even though it was a debauch of many things. Jason Patrick, Kiefer Sutherland, and anyway, these guys, they were just going over. I had no idea whether this was going to be any good. I thought it was actually a train wreck. I took it because I got to eat. I read the script and went, you know what? It's better than sleeping in a cardboard box. And I think a lot of these people, this is where they're not intuitive, but they are. There's something within them that says, I got to do this. Mm-hmm. And this comes back to the very essence of what we speak of, which is the feeling. And then you look at it in retrospect and go, oh my goodness.
Best
that was
decision I ever made.
My consciousness knocking on my door going, hey, over here, come in this door, come on. And so it just, life is an unraveling of this. And, the faster you come uppance, the faster the realization. So if you're listening to us, you're on the uppance, you're on the come uppance, you're on the level uppance. And so with that, either use a sense, remove one, add one, close your eyes, keep them open. This very moment of resonance, oh yeah, baby. As you are now going to experience the amber of a cigarette effect. Oh yeah. And seafood, it's already happening. You betcha it is. Damn straight it is, because I am just holding that resonance. And you are replicating it. Oh, yeah. You're experiencing this very moment. And so we're just going to absorb this energy into all three dantians at once. And you're going to breathe in and out 3 times. And on the 3rd time, you're going to hold it. But it's going to be for 18 seconds. Oh, yeah, you better get ready for that, baby. So, without any further ado, inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. Are you ready? In 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Inhale. Exhale. Hold it. 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and release. Oh, yeah, baby. Feeling good like you knew you would. This is the rippling effects of how powerful you are and how instantly you access that state of consciousness. And let that now, being so in tune to the breath, let your breath surge and amplify and oscillate the very essence that is the creation of your true knowing. And with that breath, it will continue to surge and charge and recharge and surge and charge and recharge this physical flesh. Stay with it. If you hear my voice in the distance or you're in this present moment, stay with it. Let it be realized. Absorb it into your very being, as this is the true nature of who you are. And I am your humble servant and Sifu, Taoist Master Sun Qing. And I'll see you on the next one, guys.